All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our session today. My name is Sean Murphy. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Cassia Content Management. We are a OT SolEx partner, our OpenText Solution Extension partner. We're based in Ottawa, Canada. We've been a partner since 2011. We build add-on software or solution extensions, which is part of the program. We're also a gold technology partner, and our mission is to extend and add new OpenText Content Server features, streamline your business processes, facilitate user adoption, which will demonstrate some of those key adoption features today, and of course, maximize your return on investment for your OpenText Content Server software. We are also an OT SolEx partner, which is the SolEx Expo that you're joining today. So when when COVID came out, OpenText had some physical trade shows set up to be in Singapore and of course in Prague. And just like you, we heavily rely on those physical trade shows to meet face to face with you. And of course, COVID threw a wrench into that whole program. So a few of the OpenText Solution Extension partners, we saw the writing on the wall, and we decided that we wanted to collaborate amongst ourselves and provide some marketing collaboration, including these SolEx Expos virtual shows. So thank you again for attending. And for more information on OT SolEx partners, of course, visit our website. We will be having another event in the fall, and we will also be attending the physical OpenText World in Las Vegas. If you are planning on attending that show, we will be holding a mixer offsite of the trade show floor, but in the same complex as Enterprise World. And of course, we'd love to see you in person. Please take the time to come and visit us at our pod. We will be sponsoring that event as well. So Cassia was formed actually by 3 ex-OpenText employees and consultants. They ventured out on their own for a number of years. And during their independent consulting, they saw that there was some opportunities to improve specifically around language. Canada being a bilingual country, English and French, there was some gaps that they saw, and they decided to form Cassia, and the genesis of that formation was the OpenText translator module, or it's called under the OpenText price book, we're called OpenText Translator for Content Suite. We used to be called the Enhanced Multilingual Capabilities module. We are one and the same. If you do run across the old naming convention, please note that they are indeed the same module. And Cassia develops specifically for Content Server. That is the only OpenText pillar that we develop for currently. We are looking to look at venturing into possibly Documentum in the future, but right now our sole focus is on Content Suite, Content Server pillar. So let's discuss the multilingualization. So companies that use multiple languages. Out of the box, Content Server facilitates multiple languages using language packs. So for example, we have here, let's say that this gentleman is working in a Japanese organization. That gentleman can install the Japanese language pack or one of the 17 supported languages that OpenText supports currently, and work in a Japanese environment and work with, let's say, their Japanese documents. Now, what happens if there's multiple languages involved? You know, with the increase in remote work capabilities, organizations are becoming more and more global, and they need this multilingual environment. Is vital for all employees to be able to easily use all of their organization systems and software. Are users able to work in their native language? They need to be able to easily work in their own language. They need to be able to communicate and share that information with others in the organization, even if they don't share the same language. Is your organization able to leverage all of the assets, even if they are in different languages? That's what we're going to be looking at. So let's, for example, pretend that we have, a multinational organization. Let's say it's an insurance company, for example. We have perhaps, an organization in Japan or wherever, and maybe that organization is a bilingual environment. Like I had mentioned before, here in Canada, we're bilingual. We need to be working in English and French. So you might have assets in both of those languages, or you might have assets in more languages. Your employees may be working in more than one or more languages. They may be publishing those documents or simply tagging the documents. So, for example, here in Canada, we also often see scenarios where maybe a document was created in English, but the native language of that user is French, so they like to tag the English documents in French. So they may have like a mix of one or two languages. And you may have, in your multinational organization, you may have offices globally where you have employees working in different languages and working with content in different languages as well. So out of the box, OpenText, of course, with the language packs installed, you can facilitate menu names, buttons, and whatnot. But out of the box, there are challenges when it comes to metadata. So that's where our module comes in, the OpenText Translator for Content Suite. And basically, it extends upon the existing OpenText Content Server and pretty much multilingualizes everything that we could out of the box that wasn't currently multilingual. So category attributes, names and values, and to provide a complete full interface in the user's native language. And what I'll demonstrate to you in a bit is when I show you the actual demo as well, out of the box in a multilingual environment to get around working with multiple languages. The current setup is a little tricky, and it might actually hinder users, and that's not what you want. You want to be able to easily access information and work in a complete interface, and not in multiple languages, but simply in one language. So we'll show you that in a bit as well. So what our module is going to show you is, first of all, we're going to just look at the problems of the multilingual environment. So user adoption, like I had mentioned, if you're not able to easily work in your language and only your native language, it's going to be an issue. Your employees aren't going to be able to find information. It's going to hinder them, and it's just not going to be conducive to a productive work environment. Finding content out of the box right now with Content Server, you're able to easily find content in one language, but again, what if you have to find assets in multiple languages? And our translation module is able to extend in machine translation and find assets in multiple languages, and we'll show you that in a bit. Of course, productivity, scenarios where, let's say you receive a document, but it's not in your native language. You're not able to read it. Well, maybe that the publisher is in another country, and maybe that publisher doesn't speak your language, so there's a communication barrier. Or perhaps your colleague is in another part of the world where they're 12 hours ahead and they're asleep. So the collaboration is also vital, certainly with the growing need for remote work capabilities. We'll demonstrate how we can extend multilingual workflows in Content Server, which can help with that. Understanding content. So again, in that same scenario, if you received an asset that wasn't in your language, do you need to contact the publisher, or do you have the ability to read that document regardless of what language it was published in? And we have the ability to use what's called a content previewer, which again uses machine translation to machine translate that document into your native language, regardless of what the published language was, so that you could understand and action that item, that document. So let's dive into part of the demo. So here's an example of standard OpenText Content Server out of the box in a multilingual environment. Now we only have two languages in this demonstration, English and French, but this would be an excellent example for let's say here in Canada, where an organization, let's say a government department, needs to have content accessible in English and French. So the workaround currently would be to include both languages. Well, you run into issues with this, of course, because with two languages, there's always going to be truncation issues. For example, here we have truncation issues where the English language isn't even showing up. There's issues of, well, which language do we put first? If we include French first, we might truncate English. We might offend English users, and vice versa. If we put English first, we might truncate the French, and we might offend French users. So with our module in place, and we'll show you an example. This is the classic view, by the way. We'll show you the smart view as well. So this is an example of the classic view with our module in place. And now we can see all of our facets for filtering are all in English. All of our file names are in English. All of our columns are in English and only English. Now, if I were to change my language to French, just to show you what it would look like in French, and I apologize for the clicking around. So here I'm changing the language pack language here to French. And this bottom one here is the metadata language. And that would be facilitated by a third-party machine translation. So here we see the same content, but now it's all in French. So this French user, even though we're looking at the same content as the English user, they're seeing it in French and only French. Here, French and only French. So you can imagine in the example before when we saw two languages, you can imagine what it would be like with even more languages. With 3 or 4 languages, it becomes even more cumbersome, and the facets and the filtering, which were designed for to make the assets easily found by the user, it basically eliminates that and doesn't become useful at all. I'm just going to switch back to English just so I can navigate through. And let's look at some other example. So finding assets. So we have all of this content in multiple languages out of the box. Let's say, for example, an English user right now wants to find content, safety report content, and they have assets in English and French. Right now out of the box, they'd have to do 2 searches. They'd have to do a search for safety report and the equivalent of safety report in French, and do those 2 searches and have those 2 search results. And now with more than 2 languages, you're just going to increase that workload. Our module allows with integration with machine translation, so this is optional. The complete user interface that is available with the translator module without without the integration of machine translation. This is a optional additional functionality that comes with a module that would be able to search your entire assets in more than one language. So we're going to, for this example, we're going to do a keyword search for a safety report. This would just be an out-of-the-box search, just to give you an example between the two. Here I have 3 results, but you know what? I'm pretty sure I have more assets than that. So with our module, we have included this automatic translation. I'm going to click on this. We're going to search for safety report. And what it's going to do, it's going to take safety report and it's going to translate that using machine translation to all the languages we have defined in the system. And just to show you what that looks like behind the scenes. So here, what it's done is it's taken that keyword safety report, and it's machine translated safety report into all the languages I have defined in this demo. Now, I have a ton of languages defined in this demo. You might not have this many languages. So I think we have 13 languages in here. But you can see what is happening behind the scenes, and it's providing you with more results. And to take that step even further is, okay, let's say you are an English user and you receive this document and it's in a language you don't understand. Well, we also have what's called a content previewer function. So let's say, for example, a records manager sends you this document and you're not sure if you need to action this document or not. This document is in Chinese, and maybe you don't know it's in Chinese. You're an English user, for example, and you're not even aware what language it is. You're not able to make a decision on it. So I mentioned that example before. Okay, so in the event that you didn't know what this language was, and let's say it was an escalated business process, you needed to make a decision on it. Maybe the publisher of this document is in another country, and maybe they're not available, or maybe they don't speak the same language as you. So with our module, we're able to do a content previewer into the languages you have defined in the system again. Now, the source language can be any languages supported by the machine translation integration that you have. Out of the box, our module integrates with RWS, that were formerly called SDL, Systran, and Microsoft Azure, and Google Translate. If your organization or client has a machine translation company that they use, or it's one that we don't support, we pretty much can support any, as long as there's an API for us to connect to. But here I'll just show you. We're going to machine translate this document. And here it says this document is using machine translation. This is a transitory document, so there's no record created. We did that on purpose. We didn't want to have to create a new record. And again, this is machine translation. This is not a substitute for professional translation. But I can see this is a food safety report. Okay, well, maybe this was a false positive. I don't have to action this document. I'm able to at least read this document without having to contact anybody. So that was the genesis behind this particular feature. And now we do have some plans in place. The most common question I get at this point is, okay, well, can I save this document? Again, keep in mind that it is machine translated. If it's going to be a publicly facing document, or even a professional internal document, you're probably not going to want to have a document like this create a record and save the content. But we are going to be adding a kind of a workflow where you can send this to your internal publishing. Let's say you had your internal translation department, or external. So a number of the machine translation providers, they also do a human translation, to be able to send that to a professional translator as well. So one of the one of the questions we get as well is we have clients that want to scan and OCR documents into multiple languages on the fly. Again, you're doing machine translation, and not only that, you're creating a ton of new records. You're creating, let's say you're translating it into 4 languages, you're creating 5 records for every record that you have. And with our module in place, you don't have to do that. You can keep the records in the native language that they are, and you'd still be able to understand and read those documents. Now, if you had something simple, like you had an invoice where there was very little content, very little context, absolutely. I mean, we could add a save as button, but again, generally speaking, there is generally a lot of content, but it is possible. So other features that we have that that we multilingualize, we've added reports. You're able to multilingualize reports and create reports in your native language. So the same report that you could create for an English user, you could create for a French user. We've added multilingual workflows, so content server workflows. So a workflow could be started in, let's say, Japanese, and then this next step could be taken over in, let's say, Germany, and that German user, even though that first initial step was written in Japanese, they would be able to read it in German and work on it in German, and then pass it along to, say, a third step in Spanish, and so forth. You get the idea. We've also added news feeds in different languages. Pretty much everything that was multilingualizable, that's a word, we've extended the capabilities for multilingualization. Some additional add-ons for this product would also include leveraging existing extended ECM sources, let's say Salesforce or SAP, SuccessFactors, Oracle, be able to take that metadata in from those sources and translate it into Content Server as well. So that has been an interest from many of our clients and our reseller partners as well. So that is a very high-level overview and kind of working with languages. I'm working with multiple languages. Another common question is, okay, what about languages that aren't supported by OpenText out of the box? For example, let's say Thai, for example, because I think I have Thai included in here. So Thai is not currently supported out of the box by OpenText. So in the event that you required a language that isn't supported, so we assume that there's a language pack and then we extend upon that. So you would have to work in a mix of the metadata language Thai and one of the 17 supported languages, unless you had a language pack developed. Now Cassia does develop language packs. We've developed language packs for Croatian, Czech, and Slovak. But we can create a language pack. There's a few pricing scenarios for that. You can contact me if you have interest there. But to give you an idea of what that would look like, I can just show you a mix of English and, let's say, Thai. So you can see any of the metadata language support comes in as Thai, but everything else, like some of these columns, they're in English and French. So this was a English-French demo. So it's a mix of Thai and English, and in some cases French. So the facets in English, columns English, some of the menu items in Thai, but many of them in English. And I will switch back to French and I'll show you the Smart View. And apologize for the delay. So here we have an example of the Smart View in French. So this would be the same for any language. Your columns, your documents is in French. We can take a look at this and let's say Japanese. We'll switch to Japanese. So same content, Japanese users working in Japanese and only Japanese, not a mix of Japanese and English, for example. So we have several more demos available at our website as well. And if you have any questions, we'll have some time now. I can answer any questions that you have. And if you wanted a more detailed hands-on demo with our development team, we can certainly have a call and you can discussion around languages or your requirements and talk a little bit more in depth around the back end of our product. So some of you could not see my video. I apologize for that. Are you able to see? Are you able to see the content server screen now? Or are you still seeing the PowerPoint? There's only 4 of us on the. Okay, I'm just going to take you all off mute. There's only 4 of us on the phone.
Now I see it.
Great. So I'll show you the example again between English and Japanese. So here we have a example of the Smart UI in English and only English using our tool. And I will switch to Japanese. And I will also show you just roll one, and we'll just go back and show you some of the other examples too. An example of English with the classic view, English and only English. So we have facets in English and only English without the translator. Again, the example in a bilingual environment, English and French. So we see those truncation issues, and in some cases, you're not even able to see one of the languages. And we have a mix of, of several of both languages, French, English, again. The search, I'll just go through those quickly again. So we show a search for safety report just out of the box. And then if we go back, we'll show you the search again, but using our translation tool. So it adds this extra box that we toggle on, and it uses machine translation to, again, search safety report, again, underneath the covers. What it's done is it's taken the word safety report and translated it in all the languages we have defined in the system, and again, brought you back more results. So again, if you have assets in more than one language, this is a huge risk mitigation. If from a records management disposition point of view, if you need to destroy certain documents, or you needed to access certain documents and they're in several languages, you're able to search for those documents. And then the content previewer. I gave the example at the very beginning of an insurance company. So I'll give that example. Let's say you're a general insurance company and you had, let's say you're based in the UK and you had somebody from Germany move to the UK, and they have all of their motor vehicle records and all of their claims history. Maybe it's all in German, and maybe that insurance advisor doesn't speak German. They're able to read those assets in their native language. So again, we have this document. Maybe we received this from a records manager, and it's a safety report. We don't know what it says. So we don't even know what language it's in. We're able to translate it into our native language or any language we have defined in the system. And here we get our machine translated results. Again, this is a transitory document. This document, now we can see that, this document is a food safety document, and maybe this was a false positive. We don't need to action this document, or maybe it is. So in the example of the insurance company, maybe you need to review claims history or motor record in order to issue a policy, and you don't have time to be going back to another office, and maybe that office doesn't speak, maybe they speak German and they don't speak English. You'd be able to at least read the document and understand them. So that was the genesis of that product, those three main features there. So that was a quick recap, but does anybody have any questions? Is anybody interested in setting up a further demo with me? Please feel free to reach out to me as well. And if there's no more, there aren't any questions or any feedback, there is another presentation at 3 o'clock, or sorry, 2 o'clock your time, from Global Sense, one of our partners as well. Please feel free to attend that one. Thank you very much for attending, everyone, and have a great afternoon.
Good night.